Freedom Radio.
Welcome, Freedom Radio. My name is Grant Roberts. I'm a collector of black memorabilia. I've been collecting over 30 years, and I've got what I consider probably the largest collection in the Upper Midwest, and I'd like to show it to you. Everything now is in storage so that you can't really get an overview of everything, but these are some of the photos. Uh, this starts the record collection. I've got over 15,000 movies on the black experience, starting from the silent movie era, 1930s on up through today. As we go through, as I say, things are in storage now, but it's all alphabetical. All these boxes are filled with videos. This here is a newspaper from New York Times. It's when Malcolm X was assassinated. Here is from Minneapolis. This is when Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated. When Nelson Mandela was free. This is St. Paul paper. This is the action of President Obama. All these are various issues of President Obama when he was elected. And we have, this is a special when O.J. Simpson was freed. This is a thriller when Michael Jackson died. This is just a paper from Iowa. Negro's greatest power is the press.
Elaborate more on what you think about this title from the Iowa paper, "The Negro's Greatest Power is the Press." How do you feel? I mean, what is like the importance of that statement, and maybe how you see your collection that demonstrates the power of documentation and telling one's story and doing those things?
I think at that time, this was in the 70s. I think at that time, when we didn't have a lot of video, etc. But I would say, I mean, my feeling is probably the press is still one of the greatest powers, but it's not so much. It's any kind of documentation. And that's why we have various types, because it's not really for me to say what is the greatest. What I do is I collect everything, and I let someone else who specializes in that area tell what they think is the greatest. Anything on Black Americans, I collect.
Okay.
I don't try and say this is better, that's better. I leave that for someone else.
Okay, let's check out some items that you want to highlight here.
These are just individual papers on everyone from the 1920s on, black poets, theater people, sportscasters, so forth. But these are videos from Superfly, all black cast. As a matter of fact, that's probably something.
And talk a little bit more about your video collection. How many actual videos and movies do you have in your collection?
We've got, well, like I say, there's like 15,000 movies. Just about any movie on any movie concerning blacks, about blacks, or about the Klan, anything like that, we collect. Even if there's only one black person in the movie, we collect that movie. Even if it's just a discussion about black people, we
Mhm.
collect that movie. Anything that has anything to do with the black experience, we collect. Right here. Uh, One of the things we have this is this is a whole series on the all black cast. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there's about 20 movies I would say in that. Uh, we also have the Eyes on the Prize experience,
Mm-hmm.
the Promised Land, the Black Migration from down south on up north.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, all the black, I won't say all, but a large number of the black writers uh, we have. Uh, we have the entire Amos and Andy collection.
Hmm.
We have uh, this here is Black Americans of Achievement. That was series 1 and 2. We've got them both.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
And
but
and talk about how rare having a collection so extensive of specific um, multimedia movies.
well,
How rare is that to actually have and collect?
I I think the extent to which we have it or I have it, it's what's rare. I think you can find a number of people that have partials, but the Black Cowboys, uh, etc. We've anything to do with the black experience we have, and as I say, having 15,000, just about every movie that came out, we have. I I would really challenge uh, whether anyone, you know, has uh, has that significant a number of movies on the black experience. So the thing is to come to one place and find mm, just about any movie that you'd like to have. Uh, that's what's good about this. And as I say, I've been doing it for over 30 years, so you
Mm.
know.
So there's a phrase that some people use in hip hop, and it has to do with one's basement. If you're a DJ, and they say digging in the crates, and usually the crates mean the record crates that you store records in. But with something very unique about your collection, you're digging in the crates, and you're able to pull out extensive files of movies, which is very unique and interesting. Yeah, for the black
Yeah.
experience. Yeah.
Well, also in addition to the movies, as I say, I have so many movies that it's hard to come up with one specific movies. But in addition to the movies, it's like the Ebony magazines. I have them from 1947. I have the Negro Digest. I have Tan. I have Sepia. Uh, just uh, uh,
Let's look at some of that. Some of what you're talking about with that. I don't even think a lot of people really know what you're talking about when you mention magazines like Tan or
well,
Negro Digest or.
right now, we let me this here is just at Ebony, and we're just pulling one crate. But this is Jim Brown, Malcolm X,
Hmm.
uh, Bill Cosby, and these are all by year. So this this is 1969. Uh,
And you have your crates all divided by years in terms of 10-year periods, or
yes,
okay.
yes.
And how far back do you go with your collection of, for example, your magazines? Dating how far back?
I I can't tell you the oldest magazine. I could tell you that the oldest Ebony that I have is 1947.
Mm.
They started in 1945. Of course, there was only a few of those out, but 1947 to 1982, I believe that's when they changed over to the smaller format. Uh,
Hmm.
but you know, we have over 800 ebony magazines.
And talk about it. Do you think most people watching this would actually think that an extensive collection like this would you would only be able to find this in Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, or maybe a couple other places in the country? How? What drives your passion, being that you're actually located in Minneapolis? What makes this more specific to Minneapolis for you?
Actually, I was working for the telephone company, and I was actually out collecting telephones. And being out collecting telephones, you have to go into antique shops. And when you go into antique shops, you see various things. So it just started out that way. I'd like to say I had great insight, but I was actually looking for telephones. And then as I found telephones, and I wanted to get those restored, I ran into various articles, and one article led to another and another and another, and that's really, how everything started. But one source would lead you to another, and then another, and then another, and then pretty soon you find out that you have more than most people, and then you find out that you don't have enough room to store it, and then you find out you don't have enough money to buy everything you want. So it just keeps growing.
Okay.
But now, uh, as I say, whether you're talking about movies, magazines, a lot of my memorabilia I've actually sold, but there's a significant portion of what I collected I still own. If you're talking about papers, if you're talking about magazines, if you're talking about movies, I just have a large. As a matter of fact, realistically, I don't believe there's a larger collection in the Upper Midwest. And
Or in the country, actually. Let's just go ahead and make that claim. I would dare to say that in the nation, you have probably the most extensive movie collection, starting from that.
okay, I'll accept that.
All right, let's go check out some of the other things that you would like to highlight real quick.
There's this is just some of the older jets, if you will.
And what year are we talking about with these old models?
There, well, what jet started in, I believe it was 1947. I believe the oldest I have now, I had some older ones, but the oldest one I have now is probably, well, it's in the 50s. At that time, the oldest one I've got is 15 cents. So This is the Michael Jackson tour, 1984 for Pepsi. We've got not every, but this whole collection's on Michael Jackson, all of his movies.
And how many movies did Mike have? Do you know? Offhand?
Well, I mean, he only made one movie that I'm aware of, but he has lots of movie videos.
Oh, okay.
So that's what I'm talking about. But I only know about him making the one movie. But that's him, Paul McCartney.
Tell us the process, like, as a collector, is your sense that you're ahead of the curve when you're dealing with for example, like a group like the Jackson 5 when they first come out? Do you start collecting memorabilia in relationship to a certain vibe that you have about an individual or a personality, or do you wait until maybe they've been more established in terms of their pop culture value?
Well, it's kind of the way you feel. I mean, if you really like someone, you start collecting. If you really dislike someone, you start collecting. Then
Mhm.
there's the people in the middle where they almost have to do something first. Uh, I when I say that, I mean the amount you collect. I will collect anything on anyone, and that is one or two items. But as to whether you're going to get an entire collection on someone, that depends on how you feel about them, whether or not you think it's marketable. There's lots of things, but no, if you feel that you're just going to be setting on something forever, why would you collect
Mhm.
a large amount? By the same token, if you feel that it's sellable, you collect a great deal. But I will collect at least one of no matter who it is. If you are black, I will collect at least one. Uh, that's just assuming that it's going at a reasonable price. But
Mm.
it starts from there, and then whether or not I'm going to collect any more depends. But I mean, Michael, there was just something about Michael that hit me from the start. I just liked him, and you know that just happens. Kind of Whitney was the same thing. You just something about him. You just collect.
Mhm.
A poem by Langston Hughes is it's mother to son, and it's just something about it that I mean, from the first time I read the poem, uh, it just hit me, and probably it had something to do with my own mother, because my mother would always tell me I'm a fighter, and this is kind of what this poem is about, and it's basically telling her son that no matter how tough things got, that you know she hasn't been living on a crystal sphere, and that no matter how things stopped, or no matter how bad things get, to not sit down, to not stop, to not give up, to keep fighting.
Mhm.
And it's just something that about that relates, that no matter how tough things get, you got to keep fighting. You got to keep pushing forward, and
Mhm.
because there's a brighter day ahead.
And,
So,
and how does that relate maybe to a black collector?
uh, I,
That philosophy just right there.
well, I think it's a philosophy that you just adopt towards life.
Hmm.
I mean, it's either you or it's not.
Hmm.
It's not something that you pick up and say, well, today I've got it and tomorrow I don't. Or I feel that way about this. I feel that way about everything I do. If you're going to go into it. This is 10 Little Niggas. The thing. And this is also, but they're just, and this is in German. 10 Little Niggas in German.
Oh, wow. Hmm.
You get, they were just niggas about Minnesota. Blacks in Minnesota. I, it's just, I don't know. It's just so many things that you get, and well, I don't know. I probably better leave that
Okay.
one.
To put their knee on anybody's body. Once they're handcuffed and arrested, keep your knees off their body.
Black Death is this popular. Look at how popular Black Death is. Look at all these cameras. Do they come out when our children are doing good? When our community's doing good? Elaborate more on what you think about this title, "The Negro's Greatest Power is the Press." How do you feel? I mean, what is like the importance of that statement, and maybe how you see your collection that demonstrates the power of documentation and telling one's story and doing those things.
The press is still one of the greatest powers, but it's not so much. It's any kind of documentation. And that's why we have various types, because it's not really for me to say what is the greatest. What I do is I collect everything.
Black Death is a part of mass media. Come out and cover our communities when we're living too.
Sometimes you wonder, how can you stay sane? What gave you the grace to stay sane? Because you ought to be crazy.
No, seriously.
Anything on Black Americans, I collect.
Okay.
I don't try and say this is better, that's better. I leave that for someone else.